Life Death Part 2 is one of the most boring X-Men 97 episodes that has come up of yet. A scene where literally Professor X is lecturing seemingly strangers, with a couple of exceptions, on his ideals. This is Disney Plus. Is this the next bait and switch? 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to my vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to subscribe here at StudioJake. Also like and share. Don't forget, if you want to support the community, head to my locals page. The link is in the description. All right, so far I've been enjoying X-Men 97. However, their newest episode, the one that came out this week, Life Death Part 2, was the most boring, objectively so. While it continues the saga of Forge trying to help Storm cure herself after she was dispowered by the Executioner, and by the way, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to hear it, fast forward a little bit. But in this episode, she battles the adversary, which is, I guess, this mystical being. I don't know why it focused on Storm specifically, but it did, and as a result, Forge and Storm, they have to find this particular cacti because Forge gets infected by a magical illness brought onto him by the adversary. And during this process, we get to hear the whole historical falsity of, infected blankets. We get to hear about white lies, like no other society in history has ever told a lie, but we got to hear it about, the colonists and everything. It's like, I just want to see Storm get better, and I want to see Forge be the leader of the X Factor like he was in the preceding animated series. I don't want to hear boring lectures from fictional characters. I just want to see action, and it's the X-Men, okay? It's not Teletubbies. I don't need to hear that. Likewise, the subplot, which is Professor X. You find out he has survived the treatment that the Shi'ar Empire gave him. He's going to marry the Shi'ar Empress and become her royal consort. Her sister, Deathbird, is opposed to this and challenges Xavier to erase all of his memories of Earth. And this causes her to kind of, Deathbird to try to stage a coup, in which case Xavier grabs her, Gladiator, the Empress of the Shi'ar Empire, and the High Council, and like sort of this mind meld thing where they go into the astral plane, where he literally delivers a lecture about power and power dynamics. And, it was so freaking mind-numbingly boring. I don't get it. We don't need a lecture from Professor X. I don't literally need to see Professor X in a classroom setting giving a lecture to a bunch of strangers, people he's never met, about power dynamics. This episode was full boring propaganda, and now I'm concerned because what could have culminated in this really epic Professor X has to choose between the X-Men or the Shi'ar Empire. He kind of gets forced into a decision. You'll find, if you watch the episode, you'll figure that out. Instead of it being like this emotional connection where Storm and Forge on a quest to defeat the adversary so they can cure both Storm and Forge. No, we have to have these long, dumb pauses where they're going to lecture us and wag their finger at it. Eat your peas, and then you'll get your dessert. We were warned. I have to say, there were several YouTubers and Rumble hosts as well saying, hey, listen, this is what Disney does. They'll bait you in with a pilot, maybe all the way up to 5, maybe even 7 episodes, and then they do the bait and switch on you. Now, maybe Life Death Part 2 isn't a bait and switch. We'll have to see for the rest of the season. But if it's a sign of things to come, brace yourself, X-Men fans. Get ready for the gaslighting. X-Men was always woke. Professor X is supposed to be MLK. Magneto is supposed to be Malcolm X. Me, 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 me. Never mind that both Stan Lee, Chris Claremont, and Jim Shooter, who was overseeing X-Men for a lot of the stuff that 97 was adapting, have all denied this. It's just gaslighting. It's just about people feeling different, about being set apart, about being nerds in some way. That's what it's about. And the recent crop of writers who want to pour out their therapy and make them the basis for their scripts, when they go to a therapist and the therapist either gives them drugs and doesn't actually help them. So then they put out all of that onto their scripts. That's what this is if it's a sign to come. I hope not. I hope this was just a blip on the radar, something we can roll our eyes to and say, okay, well, yeah, they got us that one episode. But I do think it's interesting, and this is a major spoiler, that they killed off Gambit, a straight, white, southern male who has kind of a unique accent. That's what they did. Now, as we all know in the X-Men, no one really truly stays dead. That's kind of a running joke in the X-Men series. So maybe that can be turned around. But Gambit is one of my favorite characters, and it's disappointing that they went that route. That also kind of seems to show that Magneto and the Morlocks also perished. So I don't think they would eliminate that many characters right off the bat, especially the first season of the show. Otherwise, they've jumped the shark too soon. Hopefully, though, this boring lecture episode, this propaganda from Bob Iger, will just be a blip on the screen, and we can just enjoy the Marvel Universe from the perspective of the mutants.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could